So this is Baruch Fleischman, and here we are over here at the Tikkun Elevator Kola. What are we doing? What is the Tikkun? The Tikkun is the elevation of the nitzitzis of our lives, which are buried under a tremendous amount of darkness, to be elevated into the light, to the place that we could see, to Bina, reach as high as we can in the world. There's also something that, tangentially to that thought, is that you have to realize that every world, that is the world of Itzilus, the world of Bria, Yetzirah, and the Sia, where we live, also have each one of them has the same combination. In other words, it's an Itzilus of Olam HaSiyah. There's a, uh, and so there's also a Bria in Olam HaSiyah. So there's on a place, a Bia in Olam HaSiyah. There's an Asiyah, Vasiyah, there's a Yetzirah. What we're trying to do is elevate ourselves. It's what the whole prayer is about. That's all prayer is about. That's really what the learning of Torah is about. So here we're learning the typical Vanos, Rosh Hashanah. And let's start picking up where we left off the last time. Let me see if I could get this down a little bit more, so make it more visible. So we're starting here on this is page Ayin Gimel. Starting over here. Now, one of the things I'm doing now is I'm trying to say more shiurim because I want to learn more. I don't know enough about these things, and constantly bringing us new ideas and new visions of where we can travel to find those kernels of kedusha that we saw in eternity. I think I like that word, to find to plug ourselves into something which is beyond this world. And here we go. Here we are on number Yod Ches, and again. Now, we went through this also in the Sefer Tznius. We talked about this, but since he came, and the taiva got into them so much that they had to have that yichud during the weekday instead of Shabbos. Shahaz Yom Rosh Hashanah Din Akasha, but the Kifa, because this now it becomes the first day of Rosh Hashanah. The first day of Rosh Hashanah is a time of tremendous din because everything is still in the weekday, which is a mixture mostly of bad stuff. V'chein garam al zun, so therefore it caused zun, that is zer anpin and his nukva. She is acher zivugam ad yon shmini atzeres, so therefore their yichud that actually would take place had to be pushed off until the time of shmini atzeres. So had it been that it would have been proper, then the yichud that took place on be on Chol on the 6 days. They were only 3 hours away from Shabbos. Where they got the number 3, I'm not sure at this point. But the point is that they were only 3 hours away. This is what that we see from the Rav. So he says, so therefore, it got pushed off for them to actually make a yichud, but was pushed off into Shmini Atzeres, which is already lengthening the concept of all of the Tziyos is more and more into counts, how things become longer, and it takes more time. Instead of just that instantaneous that you would have had at the right time, would have aligned all of the universes into oneness. But it hasn't happened. That only happens on Shmini Atzeres, what he said, Kedei shebahem shachayom and mashal ben time, so that during the period of time that is between this, yes, matku dinim, you could find a way. And that's what we do. This is really what's happening for starting Rosh Hashanah, through the Asaras and Tshuva, through a Sukkot, and then finally getting Shmini Atzeres. All of that is a preparation of going through different stages that are needed to be done. That's what has to happen now, after the Chag. So, but then Yismatku Agendim Kasha, they sweeten the Dinim Kasha, Kashim, Asheka Bebo Benukva, that are now found in Malchus. Pinchas, this is all mentioned in parts of Pinchas. Rosh Hashanah Rosh Hashanah is the concept of left-sided. Left-sidedness is the concept of din. So this is the concept of Zer Anpin and his Nukva having a left-sided relationship ad Yom Kippurim, and it goes on to this way until Yom Kippurim. Then he says of Yom Kippurim, Me'iro v'nimtiku hadinim ahem. So then what happens is, it on Yom Kippur starts to become illuminated, start to shine. The nimtu and are sweetened, the dinim. How does this happen? Well, there's great detail to this. I think in the next chapter, through Imi Elah, who brings her shefa directly into the nukva. The V'chag HaSukkos hu b'bechinus yomini tach became. So here in Sukkot, then you have Yamini means chesed. This is a time of chesed hugging me. So this is all the concept of, shall we say, lovemaking. Of Yom Shmini Atzeret, but now finally in Shmini Atzeres, Oz who's the mamish, this is when the Yichud actually does take place. Be'eluchem Pashtam Shal Devar. So this is really the simple meaning of what we're learning over here. Is of a Rason of Maharchi of a beer Bezerra Inyan. So I want to go into this in much greater detail. And again, we're listening to the words of the Rav. Rav is the ARI Kodesh, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria Ashkenazi. He was Ashkenaz living in the Sephardi world. For it's only the Harki V'Bir V'Zecha Inyan, Da. Ki B'chinas Kol HaChadoshim He B'Malchus. The aspect of all of the months are in Malchus. But they're divided into two different aspects. So we'll learn a little bit of this, and then we'll go back to the tip. That is that the new things are coming in by her. That has to do with herself. That's my understanding of the purpose. And the second one is the change that takes place in Zeranpin. The Moshe is Barb as it's Hashem. Now we're going to get into this more. So understand that all moon Chodesh means new. So all of the months are called by the name the months of newness. The Vishukulim Hebepukit is Rosh because all of them are concept of beginning, commotion and voyer, and we're going to get into that more. It's going to get deeper into this idea. So let's go over here. We start over here on number Yud Ches. So here we are. Let me see if we can all see this. Get it down even more, maybe a little bit. I don't know. We'll see how it works. Number Yud Ches says like this, reading only the light print. This is the words of the Tivuk Avanos, is rephrasing and bringing us more clarity. And since Adam and Rishon did not wait until Shabbos, and the yichud between opposites, which is the yichud of male and female, which should have taken place on Shabbos, was now taking place on the sixth day. And so therefore what happens is a Rosh Hashanah, which is not Shabbos and not the time of tremendous Kedusha, it's a time of Chol. It's like our world. It says that the dinim at this time are still caution, they're still around. So therefore, the real complete yichud cannot take place at that time. Now, I was thinking that, so what do we understand about dinim? Why are all these dinim around? Because the world is created in din. Din is the word Elokim. So din is a concept is that Elokim is a creator. It takes and forms and makes and changes and renews. We just saw that word. And everything gets moved around, and that's what creation is. And then finally you have a creation, but that's all acts of dinim. If there are any flaws around, problems really develop very quickly. So here, that's a concept dinim. What we're looking to do, we can't live without dinim because we live in dinim. But what we want to do is sweeten those dinim so that they are digestible and they work really, really well. Now, we're over here on page number Ayin Dalet, and let me get on my horse and start going. He says, so since the Yichud should have taken place on the second day of Rosh Hashanah, so therefore it caused the fact that they were off balance now. Remember that Rosh Hashanah is also the balance scale, which we said before is the concept of developing the maskala, the mishkal. This is the thing that balances and weighs. He says, so therefore it put off the yichud of Zohar V'Nog until Shmini Atzeres V'Rak Oz Na'asach Yichud Shalom, and then that's when the yichud actually takes place. So he goes on and he said, "Ba'osam Yanim Shebein Rosh Hashanah l'Simchas Torah, Nimshah Kol Seder Chanesira V'Chazara Panev V'Panev V'Kibach V'Nishok V'Zivuk." Let's go over the words. So now you have the period of time between Rosh Hashanah and Simchas Torah. Okay, so Simchas Torah in this version would be the same thing as Shmini Atzeres, I think. So it's because in Eretz Yisrael, that's the way it is. The Simchas Torah, Nimshach Kol Seder HaNesira. What's the Nesira? The Nesira is that the milk of Zeran ben Malchus is in his backside, which we learned this morning if you listen to the Shir of the Sefer Tibiyutza. This Tibiyutza is a Revuah. It's a concept of a Revuah. So Nimshach B'Kol Seder HaNesira V'Chazara Ponim B'Ponim, and as a result of the Nesira, which it becomes removed little by little as a result of the impression that's placed into her from Bina. She becomes stronger and stronger and becomes independent of Zeranpin. And instead of being on his backside, she's strong enough and full of light enough to be able to come to the front and be built up there. V'chibuk, and then it's the concept of chibuk v'nishak v'zivuk. So in other words, he brings her closer to him with the hug, and then he kisses her, and then they actually couple. That this is actually a process that you need to know, that there's a hugging, there's a kissing, and then there's an exchange of a meshach elach yamin. So the course of these days now, mismatkim adinim, the dinim that were pronounced on Rosh Hashanah, which is the very first day, that is the day when they were not supposed to make the yichud, but they did make the yichud. So that therefore there comes a sweetening in this period of time. Is matkim adina makashin shebezer anpin devanuk ad shehem goyim dezibuk until they become fit to make a yichud. Machbash adam arishon hikdim zibuku the yom hashishi, because of the fact that he put his yichud on the sixth day. Shu mimosa chol shesholet bechem din kasha, which is the weekday, and there's din tough dinim then. So therefore, because there's so much din, you could not possibly sweeten all of those dinim just in one fell swoop. But in order to bring them into complete oneness, they have to go through many different stages, which are the Asar Simei Tshuva, Yom Kippur, and then finally Sukkot, and then to get to Shmini Atzeres. So the first thing is to separate Zera Anpin and his Nuk into two separate entities. And to make a surgical removal of the Nuk, which is actually a part of the Erich of Zera Anpin, his backside of Erich Anpin, so to speak, at a certain level, that is from the Chaz of Lamata of Zera Anpin, and then she would become independent. B'neihem al yedei shezer anpin nosin lemok as kol a gevur shebesocho. How does he do this? Because all the gevuros which Zer Anpin receives, the 5 gevuros and the 5 chasadim, they're all inside of Zer Anpin, and he gives the gevuros to the nukva, and it makes her stronger into a part. So for himself, he takes all the chasadim. So when this happens, then he becomes completely, say, right-sided, and she becomes completely left-sided. This is the concept of his left arm is underneath my head. The Kai al Rosh Hashanah. This is really talking about the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, the first day, Kedizka Bezoyer Reish Parshas Pinchas. The Hain the Shebechinas are small the Zer Anpin, because the aspect of the left side of Zer Anpin, who tachas the Rosh Hanuk, is underneath the head of the Nuk, small. And from there, that's the concept. She received from that left side of Zer Anpin, so to speak, that's underneath her head. She receives this a metaphor. She receives all the gevuras from him, and she becomes the side of the left. The Bechina shall small. So this concept of the left, Nimshechas Rosh Hashanah ad Yom Kippurim, it continues on from Rosh Hashanah until you get to Yom Kippur. So Achar Kach, so then what happens is as the gevuros begin to come stronger by the Nuk, now you have to do what you need to do in order to sweeten those dinim. She has all those dinim, but the dinim are nasty. The parts of Ima, so therefore what happens is that the Nuk, that is Malchus, makes an aliyah at this point, because now she has all of these gevuros. Now, you have to understand this is our position. It's really not easy to hear it, but this is our position. This is that we're full of gevuras. We're full of problems. We're full of all of the things that Rabbi Nachman the Breslov talks about that we have to bring to the attention of Kodesh Baruch Hu and enter into dialogue with him in regards to them. That's a situation that the Nook is in. And as a result of that, she rises. There's two different ways of looking at it. Okay, the parts of Ima b'Yom Kippurim. So therefore, we see that the Nook is able to rise up to the level of Bina. This is the Aliyah of Malchus the Bina that we have seen so many times before, which is the time of the Mashiach. But here it's happening in our holidays during the week. So in other words, during the years, in Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur time. In order to be able to sweeten the gevuros that are coming from Imei law, this causes, as a refound fact that either you look at it that Bina comes into the Nukva, or you have the idea that the Nukva grows up, because the Nukva surrounds Bina. So therefore, it's outside of Bina. So either it's inside or outside. It depends on your point of view. B'drasha Yom Kippurim. That's all in Yom Kippur, which hopefully we'll see a little bit of that. He says here in the Rosh Hashanah v'Yom Kippurim, this Askel b'Gevuros the Nook. So on those two times, we're dealing with the Gevuros that have to do with the Nook, which is Malchus. Of the mitzvahs Ashaychen, that's other Gevuros Adin, a Gevur of Adin, and then there's mitzvahs that have to do with Gevura and Din. So smaller the tachlis roshi, which is that once again, take your left hand. The left hand is the side of the gevuros. Place them underneath my head is the concept of giving them to the nukva. Yom Kippurim, but then this goes to Rosh Yom Kippurim, which he says causes all of our prayers and everything that we need to be rise up to the level of Bina. That is the Bina of the world that we live in. Of the Mitzvah Yom Kippurim are beyond. Let's say maybe it's beyond. But then after, as soon as Yom Kippur is over, then it begins a different avodah. This is the right hand, the sign of kindness. The sign of kindness starts hugging me. Because now the Nuk is standing beside the Ponim Shalzer until she's come around to the front. Now you also have the same concept, the same metaphors, that you could say that the front is the right side, and you could also say that the back is the left side. So the different kinds of things, there's a ponim and ach, also has to do with two opposites, right? The opposite of male and female, and also the concept of right and left. So now you have the Nook on the right. She's in the front. And now she starts to receive from the faces, Zeranpin, all the chasadim that are inside of Zeranpin, because he's 100% chesed. So therefore, we're dealing between Yom Kippur and Sukkot. We're dealing with the time of the bringing in of the right side of the side of Chesed, the Sukkot, the Chag Sukkot, the mitzvahs Hashaychim, the side of Chesed. So in Sukkot, all of the mitzvahs that we do there have to do with the concept of Chesed. Now we're going to read to number Kaf Vav, and that's going to be where we're going to go today. So it says B'yom Shmini Atzeres. Now, when you get to Shmini Atzeres, Nishlam Binyan Kol Kumas Nuk, then the entire structure of female aspect, Ve'mitzad Kav Chachesed, Shebiminu, but Ve'mitzad the Gevur Shebesmola. Now, read what he's listed. Is that both Zir Anpin and the Nukva have a right and a left. His words are, when you get to Shmini Atzeres, then the structure of the nukva is complete. She has a right side, she has a left side, of course she'll have a middle. Kol kumas nukva be'mitzad kava chesed. We talk about the right line of the nuk, which is a chesedic part, shebemino. Which is on her left side. Then she's standing in the face of Zada, which is really basically our right side, chesed side. That should be Greek. She attains his complete and total height to become two. In order to really make this yichud, she has to be equivalent to him. And so therefore, in this way, she's able to make a yichud face to face. Because she's going to broaden this in. Hikting the Chtov the Chila al Pi Pashtos Inyan Chet Adam Rishon, so that it coming quickly, he's coming first here. to Alpi Pashtos Inyan Chet, because we're talking about the spread of the concept of the Chet of Adam Rishon, the Inyan Shnei Yom in Rosh Hashanah. So now you have an inkling of what's going on in the first 2 days. The first day is the wrong day, so therefore it's full of dinim, and we come to meet them. Shehem so dinikasha v'dinurafia, because of the second day, which is when should have been Shabbos. There would have been then the dinim there are already sweetened. They're much weaker. The Indian and the Sira, then you have the concept of removing the nukva from the front from the back of their anpin to his front. We're going to go into this a lot more. He says we go forward on Sofa Rosh until we finish this Rosh. This is Baruch Fleischman. I'm at the Tikkun Elevator call out. I hope you had a chance to listen to this year. It's beautiful. Thank you. All to